All right, Nick, let's go down to Madison and talk about the Wisconsin Badgers. Badgers have made a lot of big moves this year, most notably bringing in Luke Fickell in, bringing in Tanner Mordecai, a lot of big time recruits, transfer portals. This team is completely different than they were last year, and there's some big news coming from the Badgers about who has been progressing in spring ball, Nick.
Yeah, Miles, of course, this is the time of year to see a lot of these new faces, whether transfers, early enrollment recruits, or young backups that are getting their first taste of big time playing time in the two deep, at least when it comes to practice. And that's why I want to hear from Badgers fans in the comment section below. Give us the one guy you're expecting to break out based on the performance they've had in spring up to this point. Give us that one breakout player everyone is sleeping on that's kind of a huge season for Wisconsin, and let us know who that guy is in the comment section below. All right, Miles, what you got? What's the latest going on with Wisconsin?
Yeah, Nick. So we're first going to start out at the most notable position, work our way down a little bit. But we start out with the guy that everybody knows and loves, was brought in to be the superstar here at Wisconsin. That's none other than Tanner Mordecai. And he's really just kind of shown more of the same as to why they brought him in into this Luke Fickell team, Nick. And I think what Wisconsin's got to be really excited about this guy's development. I'm going to read the quote about Mordecai right here. Over on The Athletic, they wrote, Mordecai arrived at Wisconsin to much fanfare after putting up big numbers at SMU over the past 2 seasons, and he has quickly picked back up where he left off. He has now strung together 4 consecutive impressive practices to show why he is unquestionably the number 1 quarterback on this team. And he goes on to talk about during Wisconsin's first 11-on-11 team sequence, Mordecai completed all 4 of his passes to 4 different players, over the middle to tight end Jack Eschenbach, on slants to receivers Chamir Dyke and Keont Lewis, and then over the middle, Nick, to receiver Will Pauling, an excellent throw between 2 defenders, Nick. And I think that is where the second part of this story is there's been some standout receivers as well as Mordecai, and one of those guys is Will Pauling, who transferred from Cincinnati. He's moved into the number 1 slot receiver role the past 2 practices ahead of Skylar Bell, who's also been doing very well. But Pauling really fits into Luke Fickell's scheme. He's from Cincinnati, and he's been very, very consistent playmaker-wise as far as being a guy that Tanner Mordecai can trust through the spring period. Obviously, it hasn't gotten in any game time with Mordecai. But Nick, what do you think about all of this action down in Wisconsin, all these playmakers starting to emerge on the roster?
So obviously it's good news for the Badgers offense going forward. The fact that they're doing some good things, getting on the right page and figuring out how their offense is going to operate. So it's going to be big for them in 2023. Obviously, new offense, there's always going to be some issues, but figuring things out, who's the go-to guy in whatever situations, getting everybody on the same page, that's important. So that's good news. But to take a step back, and what does it mean long-term for Wisconsin? Because I know Badgers fans are thinking this as well. It's like, listen, we've had a lot of good seasons. We've had double-digit win seasons. We've gone to a lot of big bowl games. But what does this mean long-term for us taking the next step? And I go back to the Luke Fickell era at Cincinnati. In 2017, he took over the program, and it was not the best year at Cincinnati. They struggled in a lot of ways. But they had a young guy, a quarterback by the name of Hayden Moore, who had really struggled through the first few years with the Bearcats, had kind of been in and out of the lineup as a starter. He had a very productive first season under Cincinnati. He threw for career high in yards, touchdowns, had more than double touchdowns to interceptions, was very efficient, threw the football a lot, kind of threw the ball around and made the Cincinnati Bearcats offense exciting. So what did that allow them to do? It allowed them to attract the attention of a recruit by the name of Desmond Ridder, who went on to have a successful career with the Bearcats, who now is the starter with the Atlanta Falcons. That's kind of how it works. You bring in a young quarterback, or you bring in a quarterback, and he kind of gets the attention of the recruiting game, right? He goes out and throws for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. Offense looks exciting and fun. That allows you to go out and recruit someone who's like, hey, Wisconsin, they look kind of like a fun environment, a good way to grow as a quarterback. Allows you to go out and get an elite level prospect to come in and take your program to the next level. So Mordecai playing well is obviously good for the Wisconsin Badgers in the short term, but it will also allow them to expand their exposure as a fun, exciting offense that a quarterback can develop in, which will be huge for them in the long term as they look to find their Desmond Ridder. Will probably be an even bigger prospect than Ridder was to come in and take this quarterback to the next level, because I think that's what the Badgers have been missing. I mean, I think I almost have to go back to Russell Wilson when I can think of an elite level quarterback at that position in Wisconsin. So I think Mordecai playing well and getting, going along the right way and heading in the right direction is obviously good news, but we kind of expected it, right? Because he's a veteran guy, he's been around the block, but really the fact that he's going to be able to put up big numbers is going to be huge for them in the recruiting game as well. And I think that's where it's really going to matter for Fickell and company.
Yeah, Nick, I agree with you 100% there. And I think Mordecai getting off to a fast start, picking up where he left off, so to speak, as the article says, is going to be huge for the recruiting for Wisconsin. Because, like you said, when Pickles at Cincinnati, it was more of like a shaky on-off type thing. The guy had good years, the guy had bad year. But if Mordecai can come in and be as good or better than he was at SMU to start out in this Fickle offense, guys, 5-star quarterbacks, 4-star quarterbacks all around the country are going to start to be like, this Fickle guy, he really knows what he's done. This is back-to-back guys, and Desmond Ritter and Tanner Mordecai. You know, they look really strong. They're really great. The offense is starting to click. I want to go here because it's a place where, you know, I don't have to battle for Alabama for 4 years to maybe try to get my 1 year of starting experience. I can go down to Wisconsin. I can start out in an offense that's really fun, really exciting, and I can really prove myself. And, you know, guys are always thinking about making it to the next level. Yeah, hopefully Mordecai, he can make it there as well. We know Desmond Ritter started for the Falcons right now. So it just adds more to Fickle's resume. Hey, I've got 2 guys already who had really strong seasons. So I think it's really, really important that Mordecai shows this season that he's an elite level quarterback. Is this going to help Wisconsin, like you said, garner recruits, garner national attention going down the stretch?
Yeah, and just to give you one final point, Miles, once they're able to recruit and bring in that elite level quarterback, we talk about this all the time. Once you're able to do that, you're starting able to bring in elite level wide receivers and then elite level corners who want to cover those elite level wide receivers in practice, and bring in elite level offensive linemen and running backs and so on and so forth. Good recruiting begets better recruiting. That is the secret to long-term success in college football, and it starts at the quarterback position. So obviously, Wisconsin changing their offensive scheme, they're not going to go out today and get those elite level quarterbacks. But Mordecai plays well. Offense looks fun and exciting, like you said. They're able to get a 5-star quarterback, brings another talent around him, and then that just starts the flywheel. And Wisconsin, before you know it, is an elite level powerhouse on top of the premier programs in college football. It doesn't sound like this thing would be kind of a big news to lead that way, but this is the first step to heading in that direction, and that's why we think this is really great news for the Badgers program.